Korea is probably the least free economy in the world, with state control of practically everything, and thought control to boot. Most North Koreans are miserably poor. North Korea's problem is not sanctions or atomic bombs, or even the money spent on its military. It's more basic than that, and it's the same problem as Mugabe's Zimbabwe. The ruler is an autocrat. His word was law. Who is going to invest their money in a country where the ruler could take it just by saying so? Not just the ruler, any of his senior flunkies could do the same. That provides a substantial barrier to investment. If you have money in those situations, you don't invest it, you hide it. The notion of the economy is questionable when it comes to North Korea. The international community does not trade with this country apart from China. As a result, North Korea is heavily dependent on its Chinese neighbor. There are some black markets where imported products from China are sold to the population, but the vast majority of North Koreans are deprived of basic necessities. Due to the embargo, the country has kept very rudimentary agriculture. The machinery is often obsolete, and the production of rice, for example, is very low proportionately to the needs of the population. Another aspect is the hierarchy. The closer one is to the regime, the easier he will find products. Those who are close to the regime live in the capital and, to a certain extent, can enjoy a slightly higher standard of living. However, those who live in the rest of the country lead a life that is similar to the Middle Age. The life expectancy is pretty low. Also, children in the countryside always look less healthier than those of the capital. There is little tourism in North Korea, and it is extremely controlled. Most visitors will not be able to get an accurate picture of the country as the regime only shows a pretty face to its visitors. Finally, we lack some information to have a conclusive view of their so-called economy. Some humanitarian organizations have been able to enter the country, and they all draw the same conclusion: they faced a deplorable situation where people strive to survive. Food is rare in the country. In reality, North Korea isn't a communist country. It isn't really a socialist one either. It follows a philosophy called Juche instead, which originally had Marxist undertones, but it is basically now an exercise in a totalitarian dynastic monarchy, where the entire country exists to the benefit of one family, the Kims. North Korea has its own political ideology, Juche, as developed by Kim Il-sung, the state's founder. Juche is the highest stage of socialism, whereby the Korean masses are to act as the masters of the revolution and construction, and that by becoming self-reliant and strong, a nation can achieve true socialism. The country's constitution, legal framework, and ideology put the Kims firmly at the top of the pile in absolute luxury, and everybody else is expected to be happy to struggle to survive underneath them. Whereas in communist thought the workers control the means of production and property and so forth is divided equally to the benefit of all, in North Korea the state controls the means of production and most of the property, meaning that need and privation is the norm for the vast majority. The workers are expected to have no freedom of thought or action, submitting in all these to the great leader, i.e., whichever Kim is on the throne at that point. While communism is effectively impossible to implement in practice, Juche is no less so, for while it supposedly leads to the freedom and self-reliance of the workers, it has in practice enslaved them to a totalitarian king in all but name and made them entirely dependent on the state and, indeed, foreign nations, for the bare necessities essential to survival. North Korea is an almost textbook example of how empty and meaningless ideology is in the face of the realities of greed, selfishness, corruption, the imperfection of man, and the ineptitude of government. North Korea survived the collapse of the Soviet Union thanks to two factors, Juche and China. With the support of China, North Korea has avoided the suffering of other countries. Now come to Juche. Juche is a cult-like ideology that originates by Kim Il-sung to be a political ideology, the independent stance of rejecting dependence on others and of using one's own powers, believing in one's own strength and displaying the revolutionary spirit of self-reliance, but someone in their family tree likes to be a supreme leader and make some small changes to it. Now Juche is all about unconditional loyalty to the Workers' Party and race supremacy. It has been fixed to preserve the Kim family dictatorship. This fascist-like ideology has helped North Korea suppress its own citizens and allow itself to persevere.